Well, what say we get this whole thing started? Hello, and welcome to Rotted Reviews. And welcome to this live stream. How's everybody doing today? I hope you're doing well this fine Thursday evening. At least it's a Thursday evening for me. Time zones are what they are. Hello, Parisa. Hello, Sammy. Whoop, whoop. Let's go indeed. So, this is mostly just going to be conversational. I really don't have too much of an agenda aside from answering questions. For those of you that are watching this after the fact or are joining me right now here for my Patreon, I've been doing a vlog for a while now, and it's roughly once a week or so. Not always. But within that, at the end of every vlog, I will select from a pool of vlog questions that have been raised to me, and a random selection and answer whatever AMA question might be there. It's kind of a way to cap off every vlog. And I have had a backlog of them, mostly from Tom. Tom, I love you to pieces. He is great with the questions, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It is the furthest thing in the world from a complaint, but it did make it so that if I were to try and actually do all of these questions at the end of every vlog, it would take me a year or so. So this is going to be a conversational live stream. I will answer your questions as they come up. I will engage with the chat. And in the meantime, I am going to be doing some AMA question knocking out of this queue that I have had backlogged. So, hey there. How's it going, Exploitation Reviews? How's it going? Tanner, thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. That's very appreciated. Awesome, awesome. Oh. Oops, sorry. Just getting my chat settings all set up here. Let's see. Which 2 or 3 movies scared you the most when you first watched them? That's a good question, and most of the answers to that are going to be going back to a wee little Mike. Yeah, I don't get scared by movies too often anymore, but the ones that I have were from my childhood. So I would say that a pretty strong one is The Gate. I remember seeing that when I was way too young to, and as silly as it was, it did wind up giving me nightmares that they weren't identified at the time. Like, I had the nightmares, it was full of very, very vivid imagery, and I never did for a long while place where that imagery was coming from. It was like I was like in my nightmare, my uncle came to visit and his eyeballs popped out and yellow goop came out. Years and years and years later, I watched The Gate again, only remembering that it scared the pants off of me when I was a kid. And there was a scene in there where somebody's eyes popped out and yellow goop came out. I'm like, that's where it was from. Aliens. I saw Aliens before I saw Alien, and I saw it again way too young. That was a really good one. And I love it to pieces. I love the Alien franchise entirely. Your Puppet Master vids, do you believe that they are a viable property to be rebooted? That's a good question, and I don't know. I think there's a big difference, and if Ben Grimm is around, he's probably going to flog me for this one, but I think just speaking from my heart, there is a big, big fuck difference between the Charles Band Full Moon of the 1980s and the Full Moon Pictures now that is putting out the web series of like Baby Oopsie. And I think that the only real way that Puppet Master could be rebooted into something viable would be to get it away from Full Moon. And I feel bad saying that, but I think in a different company's hands, then it might have a chance to actually explore some interesting thematic elements, kind of get back to some fun roots of things without being so overly crass and almost nonsensical. Yeah, that's my honest take on it. Baby Oopsie is one of a kind. I will say that. I first got introduced to Baby Oopsie when I was doing my prep work for the Puppet Master reviews, and I watched Demonic Toys in preparation for Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys. And man, wow. Thank you so much, Sammy. That is so greatly appreciated. Thank you very, very much. And hello, DC. I'm glad that you're on the tail end of the surgery, and I hope that recovery is speedy. You are definitely in my thoughts. Let's see. Catherine, what did you not like about Hell House 2? Fully cards on the table? I don't remember. It has been a spell since I've seen it. And this is one of the I don't know about dangers, but it is just one of the absolute realities of watching as many movies as I do, is I will lose a lot of details to memory. So I will, to this day, like consistently get comments asking for plot revelations of an obscure indie movie that I made a review on 2.5 years ago. I was like, I'm not sure I would have known then, but certainly don't know now. So yeah, it's been a while since I've actually seen, which one was that? That wasn't Lake of Fire. But yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Hell House LLC 2. I would like to revisit it and maybe just do like a complete run through of the series. Just sit down and blast them all out one after another, because I was so impressed with the Carmichael Manor Hell House LLC Origins. All right, let's go ahead and get into some vlog questions that I've had backlogged here. Let's take a gander at some of the list here and see what I can make my way through here. Yeah, this is the list. Let's find out what I'll be answering here. Has there ever been a kill in a horror movie that stupefied you? Stupefied me. Really, the only ones that I can think of that stupefy me are the ones that are so silly that I am just left mouth agape. I mean, there's plenty of times in which a kill will happen in, other non-silly horror movie. A kill will happen that is just kind of a little bit nonsensical to the storyline and the plot. But yeah, I think that what stupefies me in those instances is just generally the screenplay that kind of wraps around the kills. Like it didn't set it up. It didn't cue it up to make sense. But the ones that leave me mouth agape, that are just completely like that kill in particular, just that moment itself stupefied me. The one that it pops up in my brain right quick is one of my favorite really cheesy schlocky movies from the 1990s, which was Blood-Sucking Pharaohs in Pittsburgh. The best way I can really describe it is it's almost like a horror movie takes the spirit of Naked Gun and soaks it in bourbon and stale cigarettes. If that sounds like it's something that appeals to you. But there's a kill in there involving a shop vac being shoved down somebody's mouth. That one stupefied me. I was surprised, I was stupefied, and I was absolutely delighted. So yeah, that's one there. Oh, okay. Yeah, good. Okay. Scariest movie from childhood was the 80s sequel to Wizard of Oz. Return to Oz. Yes. That one scared me as well. The Wheelers, my God. But it was a long while before I ever revisited it. And I did finally revisit it, I want to say just like last year. And I love it. Having revisited, I love this movie so much. I think one of the key elements to really enjoying Return to Oz is to separate it from the the Judy Garland Wizard of Oz. To take it as an adaptation of one of the pieces or a combination of the literary works and not as a direct sequel to the Judy Garland movie. And that was a complete new level of appreciation. And if you look at some of the original like art from some of the publications, it matches better with the characters in Return to Oz. So I think it makes more sense along those lines. And it was dark and cryptic and whimsical and fantastic. So yeah, highly recommend. If you haven't seen it in a long while, it is worth revisiting. Glassdoor Murder from 13 Ghosts. That was pretty good there. Yeah, I enjoyed that one. Admission time. I've never seen Taxi Driver. I keep wanting to possibly do like spin up a reaction channel of first time watches, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that's one that I keep meaning to get to and I just never have. I know that it's bleak. I know that much about it. And I think that maybe that's something that has not kept me away from it, but not provided me with the incentive to get hyped and click play on it. So, yeah. Let's see. And definitely shout out to Tom, yes. All right, let's go through. And you know what? I didn't delete that one. Stupefied you. There we go. You're not missing much on Taxi Driver? I'm honestly a little hit or miss on Martin Scorsese, but all right. Yeah, I'll be right over, Rob. What do you think is the most significant error humankind has made? I mean, that's a difficult question for me to answer, just like pinpointing any one particular moment in history, as opposed to just generally complaining about human nature. I have long thought that I can't help but think of where would we be if the Library of Alexandria or Alexandretta had not burned down, had not been burned. Yeah, I mean, I'm not extraordinarily well versed on it, as evidenced by the fact that I don't just on the fly here fishing around in my brain. Can't get the name of it right. But I do know that a significant amount of historical record, fiction, knowledge base, and so forth was lost. That was an extremely important collection of works. And yeah, I mean, just I think that anything that provides that kind of historical record is extraordinarily important. And to lose it in such a fashion, especially just for, in the annals of petty war. Yeah. I mean, I could be very flippant and say the most significant error humankind has ever made was, ever coming out of the caves and, going bipedal. Or equally, I could also say just the concept of the internet and social media. But yeah, I think all of that kind of just comes down to the same thing, is just the loss of knowledge and the folly of that kind of thing. Thank you, Chet. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Let's see. Yeah, Alexandria. Thank you, Sammy. Thank you. One of my favorite non-talkie movies is Nosferatu or Metropolis. Do you have a go-to silent film? Yes, I do. I love Nosferatu, but I gotta say that my favorite silent film, as far as silent horror films, is The Phantom Carriage. If you've never seen The Phantom Carriage, highly recommend. It is beautiful. It is heartbreaking. It is a fantastic movie. I think perhaps a bit controversially better than The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. But yeah, I recommend. DCL, oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sammy, for, let's scroll down. Thank you, Sammy, for always looking out. Let's see. Fuck, Marry, Kill, Tiffany Valentine, the Princess from 13 Ghosts, and Pinhead, the newest. Ooh. God, that's a really tough one. Oh. Catherine coming in with the real hard-hitting questions. I would say, let's see. Man, I don't know if I can answer this one. It's tough. Okay, so I'm going to go with marry Pinhead, kill the princess, and snuggle Tiffany Valentine. I can't. Jennifer Tilly is, well, she's special. Let's see. With the advent of people's lack of sitting still to watch a deep film, could silent films make a comeback? I mean, I think that they could. We saw a fairly recent example of that with, I don't remember when it came out. I want to say like 2010s, Call of Cthulhu, which was a silent film that they put out. And I just can't help but think that it could happen. It would just simply have to overcome the idea of it being nothing more than a novelty. And that would be a really, really tough ask. It would really be filmmaking with one hand tied behind your back. I mean, audio is such an important part of things now, not just dialogue, but sound mixing and soundtrack score. I mean, obviously you can have soundtrack and score in a silent film. But yeah, I mean, sound can be so critical to telling a story that there would have to be some very compelling elements of the visuals to warrant putting the movie on mute. Yeah, I mean, it could happen because it has happened. But I don't know if there could be like a resurgence of it. Yeah. Yeah, I got to agree with you there, Sammy. I think a silent film would be worse to keep people's attention. If people are having a more difficult time with deeper films, then I think silent film would even be like a step beyond that in terms of needing to keep people off their phones and actually looking at the screen. So, yeah. Let's see. Let's get back to another possibly Tom one. How much is enough? One thing about Tom's questions is he tends to enjoy the simple or deceptively simple questions. Like, why? And I love those. So, how much is enough? I really am a very, very strong believer in everything in moderation. So I would think that just enough is enough. Yeah. I I have lived my entire life in one fashion or another, um, suffering the consequences of excess in various ways, but weight is probably, I think, probably the most notable. Definitely the most visually notable. And I've taken a lot of steps over the course of my life with a lot of those elements, not just weight, to correct them. And one thing that it has taught me is um, complete depriving of oneself in not I mean there's certain there's no good amount of like arsenic, but complete depriving oneself of something is generally not the greatest. Neither is excess. So I do really strongly believe in moderation, enjoying oneself, but finding a balance. So yeah. Let's see. If you did films, would you have to? Now that's an interesting idea. Is doing short silent films on possibly TikTok or YouTube, something like that. That might actually, that could be something that would be interesting. So let's see. Backtrack up here a little bit. Ooh, okay. Wow. That must have been a hell of an experience. I love the Kronos Quartet ever since Requiem for a Dream. Wow, that was that was a score and a half right there. And Philip Glass, I've loved ever since watching the documentary The Fog of War, which for the fucking life of me, I can't get anybody else to watch. But it's a good movie. I recommend it. Let's see. As someone who prescribed one thing, I can't. Don't do them in moderation if you don't need them. Okay, so yeah, I mean there are definitely always exceptions. Like I said, there's no good amount of arsenic. That is one element in which, man, I'm gonna have to kind of be careful with my verbiage on this particular thing. This is the kind of thing that can get a channel demonetized when saying a few particular words. But there are elements in which I have instructed my wife that if she was ever to be a medical advocate for me, if I were to be in the hospital, that, very, very clear cut, there is a certain branch of pain medication, starts with an O, avoid the noids, that is just a hard pass for me. Like, never, no. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just me personally. But yeah, I mean, like I said, there are generally speaking, I believe in moderation, but there are always exceptions. Me and my friends have a list of essential man movies: Bullet, Outlaw, Josie Wales, etc. What would be on your list? Man movies. Um, hmm. I don't know. I don't really. I mean, there's definitely movies that are just very inherently kind of um, feeding the traditional machismo, masculine kind of the roles there. Um, yeah, Men is a good movie for men to watch. I agree with that. Thank you, Sammy. Um, and taking along those lines, I would say that one of the ones that I would recommend is, just on that pure fun popcorn kind of level, is the Korean film The Good, the Bad, the Weird. That's a good one. Uh, yeah. Top three horror movies for female empowerment and why? Um, hmm. I thought the Furies was really good in that regard, mostly because of how the characters really kind of the main character for something that was just kind of an independent slasher film. There was a strong element of the main character really rising above and trying to figure out the situation, trying to survive the situation. And I thought that was a really great example there. God help me for saying this, but although I admit I don't think it handled a lot of social issues with the most amount of delicacy, the newer Black Christmas, I got to tip my hat to. And in terms of not dealing with a lot of social issues with the utmost amount of delicacy, since when has that ever been a problem elsewhere with other movies that are perhaps swaying towards a different gender role? So yeah, I mean, why was this one such a problem in that regard, I guess, is the question that was on my mind when I was watching it. And I enjoyed it. Let's see. Yeah, Ready or Not is a good one. Oh man. You know what? I'm gonna agree with that. The Final Girls, Final Girl. What a movie. I was expecting absolutely nothing out of that one, and it was so good. I mean, for being a horror comedy, that had Adam Levine in it, to actually turn something out that made me cry, legitimately cry, and have such a strong sense of mother-daughter relationship, that was truly something special. I really enjoyed that one. But yeah, Ready or Not was good too. You're next, Hush. Yeah, I mean, all of them. I mean, that's one thing that I love about the concept of Final Girls within horror movies is, I mean, just having such, a dominant, display of strong female characters rising above and, through perseverance or guile, or intelligence or, any of those things, overcoming their situation and standing tall. I love. Yeah. Well, thank you, Catherine. Thank you very much. First Friday the 13th was very female positive. Yeah, I would agree with that. Although I would have to say, maybe a hot take here, but of the major slasher franchises that are out there, I would say that Friday the 13th, not really my thing, not really my bag. I mean, there were parts of it I enjoyed of some of the movies, but yeah, I don't know. I like Hellraiser, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween. I just enjoyed so much more. I don't know. I just thought there was more to them. Yes, Ellen Ripley. Damn right. All right. What do you got for us, Tom? Ooh, ticked right over. What do you think will happen in the next decade? Man, I have learned to not try and even come close to predicting things like that. I mean, just picture yourself 2013, the version of yourself, and think about all the okay, you know what? 5 years ago, 2018. Try and predict where we would be in 2023. It's ludicrous. Yeah. hopefully in a better place, hopefully righting the ship, hopefully, continuing on with green energy and, carbon scrubbing, improving our infrastructure, energy infrastructure, road infrastructure, food production infrastructure, medical infrastructure, just hopefully continuing on with, restoring some measure of sanity. But I was once called, I remember being accused of being a pessimist. And I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think that more I am one of the most realistic optimists out there. I always hope for the best in mankind and humanity. But I think there's a difference between hope and expectation, and just looking at my, at expectations, that's a tough pill to swallow. But I will always hope, and I will always do my small part to, within my bubble and my microcosm and the area of effect around me, as small as that is, to do what I can to improve somebody's day. So, yeah. What don't you agree with, Sammy? I've said a lot. More handcrafted movies with better plots. Well, that's always a good goal. Yeah, let's go. Let's hope. I just hope the world can get through the next year, DC. Yeah, no kidding. I mean, I haven't spoken much about the recent conflict. And this is as somebody that made a special video supporting Ukraine when that situation first came out. Yeah, I mean, I think that I've had one or two folks kind of mildly mention that I've been silent on the recent conflicts. And there's a really, really big reason for that. Because I think that with the situation that we're winding up in right now, in particular, just speaking to the conflict that's going on in the Middle East right now, this is a moment in time that we are extraordinarily ill-equipped to handle. This is a situation in which there needs to be a huge amount of nuance and discretion and patience. There are no simple sound bites that adequately explain any side of this. There is no one individual headline that would nail the truth of anything. And as information comes out, it all needs to be taken with a massive grain of salt and let time pass to disseminate and verify that information. And we are not equipped to handle that. We are currently living in a society where we are living by 10-second sound bites, by headlines alone, and by the fastest information possible. We're living in a very binary, very fast-paced situation, and that is the furthest thing from what the situation that we're currently in needs, and that is really tough. So yeah, that's the biggest reason I have largely been quiet on it, is because it is something that requires nuance and care and thought, and anything that I say would be very easily twisted, and even if it wasn't twisted, would be entirely inadequate. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I really hope that we can get through the next year. Yeah, and I think that that's very valid, Catherine. I think that that's actually, I thank you. Um, I think that there is a certain amount. One of the traits that I really appreciate in people generally is humility. I cherish humility, and by God, it is something that is becoming more and more valuable every day because it's becoming more and more rare every day. But just simply the ability to say, um, I'm not well versed enough on this to, publicly state an opinion that I need more information. I need education. I need, I'm ignorant about this particular thing at this moment. So it would be ill-advised for me to weigh in on it. That's very valid. And it's astonishing to me how few people do that. So thank you. My goodness, that was refreshing. Hello, Corey. Welcome. All right. So, well, I'll have a Coke and a smile. Anywho. Coffee's gone. Moving to my tea. Do you think YouTube creators should unionize? Delete if too much of a landmine question. Well, I didn't delete it, so I'll be answering it. That's a tough one. I'm a very, very strong believer in unions, in organized labor. That's a tough one, though, and I think that this also comes into play because this concept. I can give information about myself. I don't. I mean, I can speak to Tom, but I don't want to. I mean, I know Tom, but I don't want to reveal a lot about Tom because that's not my my privilege or my purview. I don't have that right. But what I will say is that speaking as an IT guy, that's a conversation that I see entered the mix a lot. Is why don't IT folks unionize? And I know that there are some. But I think that it becomes a difficult thing when you have this kind of workforce that is fractured across industry and across companies. So, in any given company, there may be one or two people in the IT department. If you're working for a metal stamper, then they may have a guy there that, pulls some computers down, works on AutoCAD systems, brings things up to date, works on the factory floor systems, and that's their IT staff. So, it becomes tough to find union leaders that can wrangle people from all across different areas. And I think that may hold true for YouTube as well, because you're not just talking about people that make videos. You're talking about people that are all across the world, geographically. They make all different types of content. And really what it comes down to is how much pressure could actually be put on the platform. Organized labor has as much power as if the production were to stop, how badly would that impact? And that's generally the length and the breadth of the power that they have. Is if a strike were to happen, how much would that affect things badly enough that it needs to be prevented from happening in the future? And I think in YouTube's case, they wouldn't care. If there was a union of, let's just say, the top blah of content creators that decided to just go ahead and stop creating, or private all their videos and, take them out of the monetization pool, then there's always going to be more popping up. And the idea of having this be worldwide makes it even more complicated. So say Mr. Beast decided to go ahead and, as part of the union agreement, went on strike. Well, I mean, obviously he's I think number 2 in the world right now in terms of analytics, but number 1 is a channel from India. Just taking worldwide analytics. So, I mean, you would have to find a way to coordinate that in such a way that YouTube would have to feel that pressure. And I just don't think that there's any possible way to do that. So, yeah, that would be a really tough one. Don't you fall under SAG? I don't fall under SAG. I don't know what the requirements are, but yeah, I mean, I've never been, well, I've never been an actor in a union production. I'll say that. Yeah. Any thoughts on Bob Ross or maybe the Creep Show episode? I love Bob Ross. I remember watching him when I was a kid on PBS. Love him to pieces. He's fantastic. I love his gentle nature, and it was an inspiring element of, again, what I really value in people, humility, gentle, calm, pleasantness, trying to just bring a little bit more color into the world. The Creep Show episode that had the Ted Raimi and fun little Evil Dead things in it, I thought was a delight. Yeah, that was fun. Speaking of Creep Show, I don't remember. God, the new season. Somebody in chat look this up if you don't know it by heart. But the new season, the first episode, that was one that I was extraordinarily impressed by. And I know not everybody was, but that was one where the subtextual plot, the subplot that was going on, was so well written. And as the storyline went on, I was very, very, I almost made a video just on that. That was so good. I mean, the rest of the season was, like kind of hit or miss. I thought it was kind of enjoyable, but that first segment was great. It's ridiculous how little online content is valued. My latest vid has 5,000 views and around 300 hours of watch time. YouTube estimates I'll make $6. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's true. It's a tough one though. Well, which by the way, everybody, if you haven't checked out Rob's channel, I invite you to do it. It's great exploitation reviews. Yeah. Definitely deserves a look-see, and if that's your bag, definitely subscribe. He's a great guy. Thing is, 5,000 views, really, I mean, it's great. And I mean, honestly, that would be a really high number for any of my videos to reach. So I'm not speaking in terms of your videos. I'm speaking in terms of, from an advertiser's point of view, any media that they would go to, be that television, be that web series, be that magazine. 5,000 eyeballs is not a lot at all. So it's a numbers game because you wanted to blast as many eyeballs as possible with the expectation that maybe of all the people that it gets exposed to, maybe 1% of them are actually paying somewhat attention to it and consciously recognizing the product that you're selling. And of that 1%, that maybe 1% will actually buy something. So it really does become kind of a numbers game where you're trying to get eyeballs in the tens and hundreds of thousands with the hope that 5 or 10 people will buy something to make that ad worth it. So yeah, it's a tough thing. I mean, I am I going to say that YouTube is a completely altruistic platform that, is treating everybody on a cost per click, or engagement kind of level fairly? Fuck no. But yeah, from an strictly advertising point of view, it does kind of make a little bit more sense. Okay. Let's see. I'm scrolling back up because I lost a few questions here. Have you ever watched any of the Good Mythical Evenings? I haven't, and I keep meaning to go back. And I feel so bad because Cecil from yeah, why is the name escaping me? The horror show. Loves Good Mythical Morning, Good Mythical Evening, and he keeps wanting to watch Good Mythical Evening with me, and I keep being very flaky about it. One of the things that I have difficulty with is, and I really hate to admit this, but emetophobia, which is weird because I love horror movies, and vomiting is such a frequent thing that happens in them. And I'm much better about it these days, but the idea of it being real and spontaneous kind of ramps it all up. So generally speaking, I do have difficulty being around drunk people. That's a reality. If I'm the sober one in a room full of people that are getting absolutely hammered, then my anxiety is going through the fucking roof, praying to God nobody actually throws up. It's just one of my things. So I still to this day cannot watch Triangle of Sadness. I hate that. I would love to watch it. I hear good things, but I just can't do it. Maybe someday. That's my white whale is watching Triangle of Sadness. But yeah, so I can't. I want to watch the comedy series of Drunk History. That one's a tough one for me. And I want to watch Good Mythical Evening. And I like to think that that kind of thing wouldn't be shown. But I mean, it's everybody getting drunk and being broadcast live. So it's just I would go back and watch an archived copy, but they don't make them available. So that's a hell of a thing. Is I would love to watch an old Good Mythical Evening, but they air it live and then that's it. It's gone. So what are you going to do? Do you have any plans on watching Thanksgiving? Yes, I would love to. But I don't have any specific plans. I don't think the theater near me is showing it. Well, I didn't even look. There's one theater near me that has 2 screens. That's it. And they don't typically like playing horror movies. So sometimes I don't even bother looking, but I should. One moment. Let's see. They're showing The Marvels and Trolls Band Together, the new Trolls movie. Yeah, that tracks. Coming soon, Disney's Wish. And that's it. So, yeah, that's probably going to be one that I wait for VOD. "20 Mins with Cassandra and or Smile." Can you clarify that? Cassandra Peterson? 20 Minutes with Cassandra Peterson? You can pay for it on Mythical Society? I thought they, oh, okay. I thought that they removed them. Like they were gone. You could never watch them again. Oh, okay. Yeah, it was 20 Minutes with Cassandra. That's thank you, Sammy. Yes, that was the name of the Creep Show series or the episode, in the segment of the episode that I really, really enjoyed. So yeah, to check it out, 20 Minutes with Cassandra. I enjoyed that. I would also enjoy 20 Minutes with Cassandra Peterson. New movies stink. I'm sorry, but I have no desire to go and watch a new movie. I think it's I don't generally agree with that, but I mean that's okay. Everybody doesn't have to agree. But I think that there's good stuff out there. it just becomes kind of a situation of trying to find it. And I think that that kind of holds true. If we think about the great movies that came out in the 1980s or the 1970s, it's, like, okay, yeah, I mean, there were definitely some great ones, and those are the most notable ones that we still talk about to this day. But for every one of those, there were probably 50 kind of crap fests that also came out. And, the idea that anybody can, grab their phone and make a movie now, yeah, it's increased that, but there's still quality stuff being made. I think that there's still some good stuff, just not always hitting the theater screens. Certainly not in small town America like I live in. So yeah, that becomes a little bit of a crapshoot in terms of what is actually showing at my cinema. It's not encouraging, but there's still some good stuff being made. Oh, I love Barbie. Barbie was great. Barbie made me cry. I was so happy about Barbie. Let's see. I think maybe now the full thing is gone, but there are some 20-minute clips and such. I mean, I would watch clips, and I'm sure that it can be, I'm sure that somebody can find some episodes out there on the 7 Seas, but yeah, I would watch some clips. I have nothing against the idea of Good Mythical Evening. It just becomes, it hits those anxiety triggers just inherently. All right, let's find out what, let's go back to a Tom question. Is there a horror movie that stands out for an excellent use of gore rather than gore for the sake of gore? The best example I've ever seen of excellent gore in a movie is gore for the sake of gore, but that doesn't mean it wasn't well done. I think it fits very well into both categories, so I don't think excluding the latter necessarily excludes this movie, which is Tokyo Gore Police. That was it was so well done in terms of the gore, and I really did enjoy it. It was stupid, campy, pseudo dystopian, futuristic gore fest fun that actually did the gore very well. So, yeah, that would be my answer, is Tokyo Gore Police. Are you a fan of Silent Hill? The new Silent Hill show has been a disaster. I have not watched the Silent Hill show. I'm not the biggest Silent Hill fan, but that's not to say that I have anything against it. I remember playing the first 2 games on, way back in the day on my PS1, and I played through them about as far as I could, given that they scared the pants off of me, which was not a lot. Horror games have always affected me more than horror movies, so especially back in the day. So yeah, I would kick it on, play for 5 minutes, like no more. But I mean, I love that atmospheric thing. I think that I always enjoyed the atmosphere of Silent Hill more than Resident Evil. But I'm not well versed in the lore. And from what I understand, the lore is very difficult to follow. It's extraordinarily fractured, and especially when you get into the games, there's going on down the line. That as it gets kind of tossed, from one person to another and handed off to different studios and what have you, that it becomes a bit difficult to make any sense out of. That's what I hear. But yeah, I like the idea of Silent Hill. But from what I understand, in movies or in television, I've yet to hear anybody say that anybody's adapted the quality of the games successfully to screen. When I hear that day happens, I'll probably jump for it. we should all watch it next year. Yeah. I'd be down with that. We'll do a little, patron Discord watch party thing. I'd be good with that. Which, by the way, self-plug, if you are wanting to support things, consider joining the Patreon. I got links everywhere. And, a little bit of housekeeping here. I guess it's an announcement. I've never actually made it, done an announcement, but I've also turned on YouTube memberships. This was a weird thing for me because I had this ability a while back, and YouTube just kept hounding me about it, and I got Patreon. But I never really discounted it. I just never had the inclination. But the one thing that I was pretty adamant on was that no one particular branch of financial support should ever have more or less benefits than any other. So the one thing I wanted was, if I was going to make YouTube memberships happen, that they be perfectly in line as much as possible with dollar amounts equating to benefits with Patreon. That it be 1-to-1. And the only real idea that I had was, if somebody didn't want to create a Patreon account but already had a financial tie to YouTube, just giving an alternative methodology more than anything else, but no more or less perks for anybody that wanted to choose one or the other. So yeah, I have turned on YouTube memberships. I have made the tiers align as closely as possible that I can with Patreon. So either one, if you want to support things, then that would be a really great way to do it. Add your name to the end of videos. We have Discord benefits, and for the second tier up, we do a couple of monthly watch parties where we just get together and we watch a couple of movies, and it's a good time. We chat about it, and yeah, it's fun. So yeah, if you want to consider supporting, that's a great way to do it. So there you go. Self-plug done. All right. Let's knock some more of these out. Is there a director that hasn't made a horror movie that you would like them to? I may have to hop on the webs here. Oops. I did something. Yeah, we're still live. Okay, good. Okay. You know what? I don't even have to look it up. The Daniels. There we go. So I'm trying to imagine the creativity, the heart, the humanity that the directors of Everything Everywhere All at Once, Swiss Army Man, Incredible Ball, or is it Incredible Ball, that short film? I think that if they wanted to make a horror movie, that it would be something extremely unique and thoughtful. And those two things alone have my interest piqued. So yeah, they have not, I mean, they've had some horrific elements within some of their films, but they've never made just like an absolute horror movie trying to be scary kind of thing. And I think that they would be able to knock it out of the park. So yeah, that would be my answer is the Daniels. Yeah. I don't know. It was a silly idea that I had years and years ago. I kind of drafted up back for the 2016 presidential election. I made a little sign. I put it on my office window. And this time around, I decided to actually, we have we have very little in this town. We have no stoplights. We have no restaurants. We have a gas station. We have very little where I live. But one thing we do have is a sign manufacturer. They make road signs, street name signs, safety signs. And they do the corrugated plastic political signs. So I reached out to them and just like, hey, what would be the, I sent them a 300 DPI, within the spec and the color profile range because I looked it up. I'm like, here's a picture. What would it cost me to get a couple signs made of this double-sided? And yeah, they helped produce that for me. So I got one in my yard right now, and I have this one here with the inevitability of that one being stolen. I got a backup ready to rock. So yeah, it's a message that I stand by. And politics in the area that I live, especially the politics that I believe in, or the political messaging that I believe in, is something that could easily make me and my wife a target. It's just a sad truth. Sucks. I love the area that I live in, and I love a lot of the people around here, but it's not the safest place to be myself. So there have been plenty of times in which I have talked to my wife and like, I want to support this candidate. Would you mind if I put a sign up? And we talk about it back and forth, and we just decide that our safety isn't worth, the limited, messaging that we would even be broadcasting, that there would be better methods of support. So, we'll donate to a candidate and, help out as much as we can otherwise. But yeah, the yard side thing has been a no. So I decided that this is silly, but I really do very strongly stand by its message, and it's politically neutral, which finally, that was the sign off that, pun not intended there. But that was the element that we both agreed that like, okay, fine. This one would be fine to put in our yard. So yeah, there we go. Deliverance is rough to watch for the brutality. Do you have one you won't watch again for brutality? No. There's very few movies out there that I won't watch again. Well, okay. You know what? There is one, and it's not because of the brutality. It kind of is, though. Oh, that's a tough one. I'll take any measure of brutality in my movies, and it won't affect me. It'll be fine. Sometimes even enjoyable. Yeah, I run it's a horror channel. I mean, come on. Sometimes that's what we're going for. But there was one movie that I saw, and it was very odd. There were brutal elements to it that were very serious. A lot of them had to do with SA. And it was called No Reasons. It was a small production, small independent film. I want to say from the UK. But that was the thing, is it handled the brutality and the seriousness of the brutality and the SA elements of it with a massive amount of flippancy. And it just left a really, really bad taste in my mouth. There were elements that, there was so much. I can't say the word. I'm sorry. I can't, I can't, have my channel be shut down because I said the word in a live stream. But there was, the idea of non-consensual SA was the answer to everything in this movie. Somebody is a witness and we want to stop them from talking, SA. Tackle them to the ground, SA. There's somebody gets killed and now there's a corpse in the room and we want to hide evidence or obscure the evidence, essay The Corpse. And it was with a very serious tone, but with such a flippancy that it was extremely it made me angry. So that was a difficult one, and I won't watch it again, but not because of the brutality. It was because of how it was the attitude in which it approached the brutality. And it was just what wound up happening was I made my review and I was angry about it, and I did a video review of it. And the director of the film saw my review. And what wound up happening was we ended up having, like, we got on a video chat together. I didn't record it. It wasn't for the channel or for content. It was just for us. And we ended up talking for about an hour or so. And he even got me to watch one of his earlier movies, just to kind of, here's something else that I did, and, not for a review, but just, let me know what you think. So, we ended up having a very, very good and pleasant conversation for about an hour, where I did my best to articulate exactly what I was feeling. And he did his best to kind of explain generally the process that he went through for filmmaking. And I don't think that it wouldn't be fair to say that we ever got to a place where we saw eye to eye and we fully agreed, but it was a very pleasant conversation, and we at least gained a greater understanding. So that was from the horribleness of that was at least born something good, where a director and I had a very, very civil level of friendly discourse with one another. And that was at least a positive thing to come out of that. But yeah, that would be a movie that I would not want to watch again. There's no reasons. No politics, please. No. No, that's not the way this works. I am very careful about what I choose to bring up. But let me put it this way. There is a myriad of horror movie opinions out there. There's published critics, there's journalists, there's written media, there's video media, there's other channels, there's a slew of horror movie opinions. One of the things that doesn't necessarily set my channel apart, but one of the things that makes Rotted Reviews is me, Mike. And there are some things that I will choose to withhold, for the sake of privacy, or, I'm try to be a little bit careful about, the idea of parasocial relationships, things like that. As well as, depending on the platform, what I choose to put out in terms of, the full honest opinion of what I may have for world events, politics, things like that. And I try to be sensitive to everybody out there. So when I, do a public video like this that's going out to the entire world, I may hold back a bit. When I'm doing a private vlog for my patrons and it's a little bit more of a kind of a, closed bubble, I'll be a bit more candid. But whatever I'm putting out is me. It's the full and honest me. And there may be times in which I want to talk about politics because sometimes it's important. Sometimes it's something that has to do with a humanitarian crisis. And sometimes I am a strong believer in, not necessarily everything has to be politics, but there is a certain level of silence can be considered, some measure of complacency. And there are moments in which I choose not to be silent about things. That's my right. And just like it's your right to not watch me, that's okay. If this isn't your bag, if me and my channel aren't your thing, I get it. And that's okay. You have my full blessing to pick and choose. Not that you need my blessing, but you have it. So there we have it. If you're tuning into me, you're watching me, and this is what you're getting, is me. So there we have Oh, oh I get that. Yeah, too much right now for politics. It's been a bad week. I get that. There are times in which I will definitely be, I'll turn off the news. I'll, like, no, I need to be on mute, or, I get that. Believe me, I do. It's just that, from my perspective, as sensitive as I am to that, that would be something that, that's the choice that I make as a viewer of things in that any given moment. As a broadcaster of things, I can't know that I can't know that there's 14 concurrent viewers according to my dashboard right now, and I can't know the state that everybody is in and work around that. So again, I try to be sensitive to it. So, like me discussing politics right now in the aspect that I have during this live stream is probably about 10% of what I could. So yeah, I mean, and really it's only perfectly aligned with the questions that I've been asked. So this is part of the conversational aspect of things. If the AMAs and the questions come up that, the honest answer is a political one, that's kind of the way the wheel spun and what it landed on. And, there's a part of me that wants to apologize for that, but, absolutely no offense intended, but that's something I'm not going to apologize for. It's just that's just how it shakes out. This is just me being me. And I'm glad that I make your day better. I truly am. That means the world to me. So thank you very much. And thank you, Catherine, for the Fox squeezing a heart. Thank you very much. All right. So what is it? Okay, let's see. Yeah. Still love to talk. Still love to sit down and watch a movie with you and discuss the virtues of Porky's. Fair enough. Oh, Porky's 3. Sure. Yeah. Maybe someday, if you're feeling froggy about it, maybe you want to join the Patreon. You can recommend Porky's 3 for a watch party. We can all watch it together and discuss it. All right. So let's see. Yeah, let's get to another Wheel of Tom. If there was an afterlife, what would your preferred vision be? Asked by Ben. Ooh, or Benjamin. We have a Ben, and usually he signs things as Ben, but this one was signed as Benjamin, so not sure if it's the same Ben. But regardless, Benjamin has asked, if there was an afterlife, what would your preferred vision be? That's easy. I've never much subscribed to the whole harps on clouds kind of afterlife thing. I mean, even if it existed, it doesn't really sound that appealing to me. The one version of afterlife that I've ever seen on a cinematic level, and I know that wasn't asking about movies, but even so, it was the best example I can think of an afterlife, was Defending Your Life, the Albert Brooks movie with Judgment City. I know, yeah, that wasn't representative of heaven. It was but it was representative of the afterlife, and that's what the question is: afterlife, not heaven. So yeah, if you've never seen Defending Your Life, for God's sakes, watch Defending Your Life. It is a funny comedy. It's comedy romance. It's heartfelt. It's a wonderful, delightful romp of a movie. I cannot recommend it enough. I love the shit out of Defending Your Life. And it by far has hands down the best version of the afterlife I could even conjure on my own. So there you have it. That's my answer. End of the Good Place was, this is a tough one for me to talk about without spoiling things, Catherine. But yes, I will say The End of the Good Life, and where they wound up resolving things. Yes, I agree. That was good. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna be kind of bypassing the political conversation at this point. Do you watch any movie critics on YouTube like The Critical Drinker? That's a good question. No. I mean, there's a few that I will watch. I watch Spooky Astronauts. I watch Nightmare Maven. But I kind of bypass a lot of critics just generally. I enjoy watching the content of people for their personalities and what they bring to the table with their particular content. But there are some where their personalities just aren't really my thing, and I have nothing against them. But Dead Meat James, I know a lot of people love watching kill counts and so on. Never really appealed to me. I've watched several of them, and yeah, I just not my thing. Just that, I mean, that's pretty much the entirety of the statement. Is just not my thing. And then there's times in which I kind of have to be careful. So if it's a movie that, like, somebody brought up Thanksgiving. Why can I not say the name of Thanksgiving as a movie, as a horror movie, without thinking of Thanksgiving? Somebody brought up Thanksgiving, the upcoming movie, and whether I'm going to be reviewing it. Yes, I would like to review it, but I'm going to have to probably wait for VOD. I am limited. I'm hamstrung by the idea that I don't have a lot of multiplex cinemas very close to me. So there are times in which, especially if it's a theatrical release, I got to wait. I got to be behind the curve, and I got to have my review out later than most everybody else. But I also don't want my opinion shaped if I know that I'm going to be doing a review on it. So there will be times in which I will purposefully not watch anything, not read anything, because I know that is going to be a movie that I'm going to want to discuss on the channel. So yeah, that turns into like a full blackout mode for me. I miss Siskel and Ebert too. I remember watching them when I was a kid. I loved Leonard Maltin. I used to get every year, that big, thick Leonard Maltin movie book and just pour through it. Every year I would do that. And I do have to admit that looking back on it and looking back on some reviews, that Siskel and Ebert weren't the most fair to horror movies. And that was something that I kind of, it wasn't entirely like the inspiration for me starting the channel. But when I was thinking about how I wanted to approach things, what I wanted to do when I created Ronita Reviews was to provide honest, open, objective, as objective as possible. I mean, at a certain point, it's my opinion, so it's going to be subjective, but honest and open, break down an opinion of horror movies from the lens of a horror fan, but not a horror apologist. So, I think that critics historically have discounted horror movies as schlock. And I think that it has resulted in some unfair critiques. I think that there have been instances in which a movie should have been viewed with a little bit less bias, just because it was in that particular section of the store, or it had that genre title attached to it, doesn't mean that it was schlock, and it deserved a little bit more thought than that. And that's what I wanted to bring to the table. At the same time, I also didn't want to think, I think that a lot of horror fans and, without naming names, horror hosts think, there's an element of, if it's a horror movie, it has blood, guts, and gore, that it can do no wrong. And that is definitely not true. So yeah, I wanted to come at it from a place of honesty and from somebody that loves the genre, but is still willing to take a very hard look at the flaws in it and be very open about it. Who's the critic with the massive mustache who reviewed movies? Oh God, what was? I know who you're talking about. It's not Siskel. It's not Ebert. It's not Leonard Maltin. Was it? There's one in particular. There's like very unique look to him. Oh God. Gene Shalit. I bet you anything that you're talking about Gene Shalit. Okay. Deep, heavy question. Favorite flavor of Oreo? Ooh, that's a good one. Would it be the greatest sin if I were to just say the original? Like, or even just double stuffed? Have you tried the Oreo Thins? I don't know what it was about them, but they were really good. Like, just, I don't know, like the cookie to filling ratio where they had just kind of gone extreme and, more stuffed with filling, they instead made everything kind of slimmer. And I wasn't expecting anything out of it, but man, it worked. Like the crunchiness of the cookie cracker on the Oreo Thins were really good. If you haven't tried it, try it. I recommend. The one thing I really didn't care for, I got to say, is the Oreo Cakester. That, to me, it was almost pointless. Like, I'll just get some Hostess. Don't Cakester me. Yeah, that's the danger of the Oreo Thins. The same as the Snackwells is, like, hey, can't be that bad. And, 2 bags later. Let's see. Pumpkin spice. Ooh, I do like pumpkin spice. I like pumpkin spice, anything and everything, and I am never going to apologize for it. When the pumpkin spice season starts, I'm a happy camper. It's one of the things that I associate with autumn, and autumn is my favorite time of the year. The crispness in the air, the leaves changing, cider donuts, and pumpkin spice. Like, fuck yeah to all of it. I'm all about it. So yeah, definitely. All right, back to some more questions here. We're working our way through the list. No, it was all good answers. Favorite specific moment / memory from Orlando? That is a good question. Because there were a lot of really great moments and memories from Orlando. For those of you that don't know, I recently went and had my first vacation in a long while, and went to Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios Orlando. And I met up with some great folks there. I think that my favorite specific moment / memory was the first night that we arrived, and there was the big meetup. We went to City Walk and went to Margaritaville, and we had dinner, and it was just a great time meeting Sammy, meeting Kate and her husband, and meeting spooky astronauts, Emma. and just, meeting all these wonderful people that I've interacted with for years online, and getting that opportunity to see them face to face and hug them. The dinner was great. The atmosphere was great. There were these performers that were on stilts walking around making balloon hats and balloon animals and so forth. And I got a Viking helmet with, complete with braids and balloon animal thing. And the whole moment was fantastic. But yeah, I mean, I want to bring up a lot of other moments, but the question kind of hamstrings me a little bit there. Hi, Tara Lynn. Hello. Welcome. So good to see you here. For those of you that don't know, Tara Lynn is somebody that is just one of the most special people in my life. I've known her for many years, out, beyond YouTube, in the meat world. And she's a great, great friend. Wonderful person. One of the best people ever. So let's see. Can a good ending save a bad movie? Before I assign you the crap fest that is Altitude next month, I want to know that at least the ending might make it all worthwhile for you. Yeah, I mean, I think it can. That's a good question. But I think the question is kind of predicated on the specific wording that you used. I'll say that. I don't think a good ending can fully redeem a bad movie. It can't make a bad movie good, but it can save it. So there will be, I think that a lot of times an ending is kind of like it's how we leave the cinema. It's how we leave our living room when we press stop. It's the feeling that we get when the end credits roll. It's the final curtain bow. And if that's strong, then that leaves us, with that good lasting impression. So I think that the danger really is actually managing to make it happen. An ending is supported by everything that came before it. So, it would be the final flourish on a lot of the groundwork that had been laid. And if it was laid poorly or haphazardly, then I think getting a quality ending would be a really tough thing. And honestly, speaking as somebody that tries to objectively or honestly review movies and break them down and try and figure out what works and what doesn't, please send something like that my way, because I would love to experience that where, it's a bad movie, but somehow it actually managed to pull out a good ending, and sign off on a positive note and save the film, even if it didn't make it a good one. So yeah, I think that that's possible. Let's see. Do you have a favorite seasonal films? Mine are Holiday Inn and Going My Way. So seasonal, you know what? I have a good seasonal movie that was bad, but saved by the ending. So, one of my favorite Christmas horror movies is A Christmas Horror Movie. A Christmas Horror Story. It's the anthology film. I want to say it's a Christmas horror movie. And it's not that it was bad. It was just okay. It had some fun little moments in it. It was a good holiday horror anthology film. But nothing too special, nothing too remarkable. It had William Shatner in it, and he was the element that was the wraparound story, the binding storyline that the other segments were kind of introduced through. But it kept going back to him, where he was a DJ in a booth, spinning them records on Christmas night. And did my sign move? It might have moved. Things move around here. It happens. But yeah, I don't want to give it away, but I will say that for a movie that was kind of ranging between good and mediocre throughout, the last 10 minutes of that film had me laughing, clapping my hands in delight, loving the shit out of it. And because of that last 10 minutes, it is now one of my favorite holiday horror movies ever. I think that, like Krampus is a really great one. There are very serviceable, competent, not that many. It's weird. I mean, I've reviewed at this point, God, I want to say, what, 160? No, it's not that many. I want to say about 100 Christmas horror movies at this point, with the advent calendar that I would do every year, aside from last year. And the quality range is very skewed. Once I start really getting into the Christmas horror movies, it's, the stinker to good movie ratio is very, very skewed, but there are some good ones. So yeah, I mean, Krampus is solidly up there, but if you haven't checked out A Christmas Horror Story or A Christmas Horror Movie, I forget which one it is now, the one with William Shatner, look it up. Recommend. Let's see. There is a shadow behind Mike. It's my shadow. Hello. Okay. Enough of that. Not trying to freak me out. Everything's fine. Nobody is with me here. What would be the horror movie that represented the turn of the century most accurately? Questions are coming up that, like, tough ones to answer on the fly. 28 Days Later. Yeah. That's a tough one because usually horror movies are resigned to a specific thematic horror element. So Chet brings up 28 Days Later here. That's a valid, answer to that. But that would call to highlight like one specific, aspect. And I think it would be, there's so much that's gone on, and so much that's gone on in horrific fashion, that it would be difficult to find a movie that kind of addressed them all. Yeah, I mean, there's other ones that I could bring up, like We Need to Talk About Kevin. But yeah, I think it would, I don't think there's any one particular movie that really addresses a lot of, that fully represents the turn of the century, just because it's been so difficult in so many ways. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Annabelle's doing her thing. It's fun to make Annabelle do her thing, especially on live streams, because if I do it in a recorded video, then people, have commented and say, like, it's an editing trick. It's like, well, I can't do that when it's live. Gremlins is a great Christmas movie, definitely. The name of the one Christmas movie you turned me on to, refer to it. The one with the bells who were, Sleigh Bells. Yeah, that one had Barry Bostwick in it. That was just stupid, pure fun. Sleigh Bells. That was an interesting one. Let's see. Hi, I'd like to ask why you're not much more popular. Your reviews are fantastic. I don't know. Thank you. I mean, I really do appreciate it. I get this comment a lot, and I appreciate it each and every time. But I also don't really have a great answer. So, there are aspects of the things that can make a successful YouTube channel. And there are some of those things that I do. And there are some of those things that I don't do. And I know that. And I'm aware of that. I think to be a success on YouTube or, anywhere really, especially in, social media platforms and content creation, there's a certain degree of luck. But I also think that, there's, I don't want to sound dismissive, but I guess playing the game is about the best term I can really think of. But yeah, I think, luck, adhering to the rules, and, of those rules, it's hard work, it's dedication, it's consistency. And I'm not consistent. I'll fully admit that. I try to have a certain number of, reviews out every month. But I don't upload on a consistent, regular, set your clock by it kind of uploading schedule. And that's just as much for my sanity as anything else. I love doing this. If I could turn this into my full-time career, I would. But I can't. I just can't. So, I mean, I have other things that, I got my job. I do some charity work around the neighborhood. I got my house and my family. And, it's not that YouTube is a low priority for me, because it's not. It's just, it gets prioritized along with, a lot of other things, and depending on, how much, what rises to the top on any given week. So yeah, the idea of having consistent uploads has never really been in the cards for me. I just do what I can. So there are definitely aspects of achieving YouTube success that I don't follow. And that's definitely partly on a conscious level. As far as, there's always the unknown aspects of it. I mean, I was dead serious when, you asked the question, why aren't you more popular? I don't know. That's not really for me to say. The best that I can really hope for is that the people that find me, find me entertaining and engaging and thoughtful, hopefully will do their best to, watch more of the content. From what I understand, that's one of the biggest metrics that will boost a channel's exposure, is if somebody watches a video and then dives into more of those videos from that channel. So, I mean, that would be a big help. If you like one of my videos, if click on a playlist and let it run overnight. But pass the word around, share. Horror community is a tight-knit community, and it's a tough thing to kind of get an inroad, but that makes those recommendations when somebody says, hey, I found this channel, you might enjoy this. That really goes very, very far. That is huge. So that would be one of the biggest aspects that you could do to help. I mean, I think the consistency would definitely help, but it's not something that really fits within my life. I mean, maybe at some point I can get to the point where I'm making reviews ahead of time that would allow me to queue them up on a consistent upload schedule. But that's never really worked well for me either. I've done it. I've done it, and what winds up happening is I wind up kind of just getting behind the curve. There will be times movies will hit VOD, and just by the way the schedule lines up, I wouldn't even be talking about it for 2 weeks on a public level. Especially with those kind of independent small VOD releases, you got to strike fast. And horror movies is probably one of the worst subject matters to make a YouTube channel based on. Movies in general are difficult because on a copyright level. Trying to do anything, show clips and so forth. Talking about movies is extraordinarily difficult in terms of creating an actual channel. And then horror movies, dealing with content that is adult in nature, difficult in nature, has to do with controversial topics and so forth. It's just everything stacked against you in terms of the platform. So, but yeah, I think that really what's happened is I've been doing this for 5 years. I've been doing this for over 5 years at this point. And the point in where I've gotten to is a very peaceful resolution in that I know how much I can put out content-wise while maintaining my sanity and just being okay with that. And that's where I've gotten. I do what I can. And if YouTube deems that to not be worthy of elevated exposure, so be it. I'm having fun. I'm making content that I'm proud of. I'm having fun doing it. And I have patrons that, subscribe and, see the value in me and want to support me. And we get to chat on Discord and we get to have watch parties together. And it's fucking amazing. It's a privilege. And I'm so happy about it. So, there's no complaints. As far as why I'm not more popular, your guess is as good as mine, but I'm okay with it. That's my answer. Came to you through Manjaro. I'm not a movie person, but much respect. Everyone have a great night. Thank you, Jeffrey. It sounds like you probably already ducked out. That's fine. But, take care, DC, please. Still keeping you in my thoughts. Take care with your recovery, and I will talk to you soon there. The Manjaro thing has been an interesting kind of, it's been a while since I made that video, and turned out to be wildly successful for something that I didn't expect that to happen, in all honesty. But yeah, I just kicked on the camera, and I'm like, I'll just talk about this Manjaro thing for a little while. And it's turned into one of my most successful videos. I've been thinking about doing a follow-up to it because, I have follow-up information. I have a lot of stuff that's happened between that and now, and stuff that I'm very proud of and I'm very happy with. But yeah, there's definitely some developments, and there's the risk. It ties in with the previous thing about, why aren't I more successful? Part of it is because of my consistency, and part of it is because of my inconsistency in subject matter. So this is primarily a horror movie review channel. And then one of my most popular videos is related to my weight loss, which was just a vlog that I kicked on and, just spoke from my heart. And as much as I want to continue talking about that, it would actually negatively affect my normal content of horror movie reviews if I were to do that. So it turns into this really weird kind of quagmire that I find myself in, where I can have a direct follow-up to one of my most successful videos, but it means that all my content will suffer as a result. This is the reality of being a YouTuber, everybody. It sucks. I mean, it's fun. I enjoy making the videos. I enjoy engaging with audiences. I enjoy you all, doing this kind of thing for you all. But holy God, trying to actually, work out and adhere to the Frankenscience of this whole stupid thing, it sucks sometimes. But here we are. But yeah, I guess I'll just briefly, since I'm already doing this live stream, I'll just briefly kind of bullet point a few things as far as the Mounjaro follow-up thing. So I was on 10 milligrams and I wound up getting knocked down to 7.5 because I wound up in a situation where 10 was not available. I was calling all around, nobody had it, and nobody was going to get it, or at least nobody had any kind of timeline. It was indefinite. By the dictionary definition of the word, it was indefinite when anybody would get 10 milligrams in. So I was risking not having anything, and I just frantically, I got on, I use Amazon Pharmacy, with my Prime membership kind of baked in. So I get things delivered to the door, which is it's almost a requirement being in the remote area that I live in. So I wound up getting on chat with them. I'm like, 10 is out. What about, 7.5 I was happy with, and they're like, well, we have very little of that, but we do have some. I'm like, called my doctor and I'm like, please get something through there. So it was a situation of better that than nothing. And I've just stuck there. So I've never really had any issues getting the 7.5. So I've stuck there and I've been doing okay with that. I haven't been wanting to increase it because I know you can go up to 15, but I figure the more I go up, the further I have to go back down when I'm ready to wean off of this. So I'm going to stay on 7.5 as long as it's working for me, which it seems to be. Yeah, one of my goals was when I went on vacation in Florida. I wanted to be at a certain number on the scale, and I hit that number the day of. So that was really nice. And one of my big goals was to be able to fit on the plane. Previous to this, whenever I flew, I had to use the seatbelt extender. And I have my own because it was too embarrassing to ask for one. So I would sit in the seat and I would surreptitiously attach my seatbelt extender and okay, nobody look at me. So I wanted to fit in the airplane seat without a seatbelt extender, and I got an emergency row seat, which you can't use a seatbelt extender in the emergency row seat. So I was really kind of putting a lot of my chips on this particular number. Pleased to say I sat down in the seat and it was about as cramped as you could hope for an airplane seat. I flew Allegiant, which is, right alongside like Frontier and Spirit. It's one of the budget airways, so the seats are what they are. But I'd managed to sit in there and buckle the seatbelt, and I had about yay much room left in slack of the built-in seatbelt without an extender. I was super happy about that. And one of the best moments of going on the vacation was we were at Universal Studios, and there was a medical thing that was kind of going on in our family that I'm not really going to go into here. Suffice it to say that we were being very careful about what rides we went on, if any. I'll just leave it at that. But we got to Hogsmeade in Universal Studios, and that's where they have the Hagrid's motorbike ride roller coaster thing. And I remember hearing from various sources that was one of the most tight squeeze rides in the entire park. That was the one that if you're going to have trouble fitting on a ride, that would be the one. So there was a part of me that kind of wanted to go on it, but really couldn't for the other reasons. But they did have a tester at the beginning of the line outside of the ride. They had one of the seats just sitting there with an attendant. And it was a way that if you wanted to test whether you actually fit on the ride, you could do that before you stand in a 2-hour long line. And so you sit down and they have the bar, and the bar comes down. And once it reaches a certain point, a green light turns on and you're good to go. And I was kind of dubious about it, but I sat in the seat, pulled the bar down, and that light turned green before, like, it still had inches to go. And I'm like, I don't even need to go on the ride. I'm good. That was the happiest, like, that was so joyous. That was better than any fucking roller coaster ride ever could be. So yeah, I would eat the shit out of some Christmas cookies. So yeah, there have been definitely some victories. And some not. I fully admit that I have been having difficulty getting back into the swing of things since I got back from vacation. And I have recently started successfully addressing this. So I started going to the gym and ramping things up and being a little bit more disciplined. And I'm starting to see the numbers go back down. So the one thing that I will say that for whatever weight loss goals and so forth, that Mounjaro does help with, or any semaglutide does help with, the one thing that Mounjaro has been an absolute miracle drug with is my A1C. 1 second. I'm going to look this up because I want to get the number right. Yeah, I got it on my phone. This will be the fastest way. But I want to get this right because I had, just after vacation, I had my doctor's appointment as a follow-up. And I thought it would be faster. I can't even find the freaking app. All right. I had my follow-up appointment with my doctor for my diabetes checkup. And it's been good. I'll say that. It's been good. Two-factor auth. Test results. Here we go. Hemoglobin, A1C. All right. February 1st, 2023. So what are we talking about there? 9 months ago. 10.5. My last visit, 5.1. Fuck yeah. I mean, it's been doing great. And so I've been super happy with it. And I wish it was, more affordable and more accessible. I count myself extraordinarily fortunate that it is within my availability. And I wish it was that way for everybody. But yeah, it's been great. Oh, sorry. Okay. I missed you there, Sammy. Bye, Sammy. Thank you so much for joining. It was so great to have you here. Hopefully you're still around that you can hear that, but maybe you'll see it after the fact. Anywho, yeah, we're okay. So we're winding up on 2 hours here. Let's do one more question from the wheel, and then we'll call it a night. How much time do you spend touching grass or spending time in nature? More than I did, and not as much as I would like to. So that would be one of my goals. The vacation is over. So one thing that I thought was important was to always have kind of a goal. Something on the horizon in kind of the medium term, not, next week, but not years and years from now. Something kind of in the medium term they'll be looking forward to. And one of the things that I want to do is get a kayak or a canoe, and there's a lake nearby that's semi-private. I can buy a pass for it that is through my employer that I want to go to regularly. They have storage for personal watercraft, so I want to buy a canoe or a kayak, store it up there, and just regularly go up. And I used to canoe and kayak all the time when I lived in San Diego, which was great. And I miss getting back to that. I want to go out on a lake and do that. Likewise, I've been talking with my friend and coworker about this, the idea of making use of some of the wonderful trails that we have here. We have the Finger Lakes trails, and some of them are just like right in our backyard. It seems a shame that I don't, get myself a proper pair of hiking boots and, take some day trips and just go hiking. Excuse me. Getting a little dry there. But yeah, that's the thing is, I've been feeling better and healthier. And I've noticed a marked improvement in my physical abilities. So where raking the leaves and getting the yard clear would be a 3-day thing that would be like frequent breaks and trying to like catch my breath, I got it knocked out in an hour this year. I'm going to the gym and I'm surpassing, by far the speed and the incline and, everything that I've been able to do better and faster and, longer on a physical level. And where previously the idea of going hiking or camping or canoeing or something that seemed like just something that, would be too taxing and uninteresting as a result, now is this big desirable element. So yeah, I'm going out more, I'm doing more things, and it's still, it's turned into a goal is to continue doing more. So yeah, I love being a part of nature and communing with nature and just the peaceful tranquility of it, the Thoreau, of Walden Pond and so forth. The simplicity of it. I would love to just, go out under the water just with myself and a book and just enjoy the day. So, or go on a hiking trip and take the day and a couple sandwiches and a book up to the trailhead and, take a day and do that. I would love to start doing that some more. So yeah, that's my answer. So there we go. Going hiking in Arizona feels like a good way to get snake bit. So funny story. Well, not so funny, but yeah, that was, that was, before I lived in New York, or Western New York, I lived in San Diego, and, I was really big into the Boy Scouts all through growing up. I didn't make it to Eagle Scout, but I made it like just one rung below. Very close. I kind of lost interest right at the last minute. That's a whole story. But I went on some pretty serious excursions. I remember hiking in desert of the Valley of the Moon Desert, I want to say. And yeah, it was like a hiking, backpacking trip. We also went up in the high Sierras. That was a lot of fun. But in the Valley of the Moon trip, I remember setting my pack down, taking a break, and when I picked it back up, I saw that I had put my pack down on a nest of baby rattlesnakes. I was freaked the fuck out. So glad that didn't turn out badly. But yeah, that was one that, believe you me, for the rest of the day, I was very carefully watching every step that I took. That's rattlesnakes are definitely a big element of hiking in San Diego, wherever you go. Even close to my house, growing up, we had I grew up in a suburb of San Diego called Claremont, and all around us, surrounding Claremont, were canyons, very deep canyons. So you know, if I wanted to get to the other side of town, I would have to ride my bike, you know, like to the edge of the canyon, go down a very steep road, and then up a very steep road. It was very taxing on the way up, always. But always at the bottom was, you know, an area that, you know, okay, well, you can pull off here and you can go on a hiking trip down in the canyons. And, you know, even being just a canyon within the city, lots of rattlesnakes. So that was always something you had to keep an eye out for. So there we go. It is now 7 o'clock. We've been at this for 2 hours. I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. Thank you so much for your support. Again, if you're not subscribed, please do so. If you want to support me further, just take a gander at the Patreon. You know, we got the benefits, Discord benefits, watch parties, and all sorts of stuff. It only starts at only $1 a month. And I've also turned on YouTube memberships, which should align with that. So that would be another thing to give us some consideration to. But thank you, and have a great night, everybody. I will talk to you all later. And yeah, please take care.